Good evening. Welcome to the April 12th Commission on Disabilities meeting. We are still waiting for a couple of members, so we'll start anyway with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll do the roll call, and hopefully the other members will be here. So we'll do that, and since we are live, hopefully everyone's doing well tonight. And we will stop that. If everybody can hear me fine.
Yep.
Yes.
Thumbs up. I just wanted to make sure I got the check from the studio that that's fine. So that looks okay. So let me just get my flag here. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Public for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If Pauline, if you could do a roll call of the members here.
Absolutely. Ralph DeChico.
Present.
Pauline Perno is present. Mario Gramanis.
Present.
Good evening, Mario. Jason Barone.
Present.
Good evening, Jason. Robert Brown.
Present.
Good evening, Robert. And Asma Abu Fuda is not with us tonight?
She was supposed to be here, so I don't know if she's running late. So we'll just, if she comes, we'll start the meeting. But she didn't tell me that she wasn't going to come. So we can start the meeting. I had sent everybody along with the agenda for tonight's meeting, the minutes from the March 8th meeting of last month. Not sure if everyone had a chance to take a look at it. Not sure if there was anything that needed to be corrected on it. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at it?
Yep.
Okay. If there is no problems, if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll approve them.
All right, and so someone would second
Motion to
them.
approve.
Okay, so Pauline
Mario.
approved it and Mario will second it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will go over to item 2 is updates and next steps from the March meeting. The first thing that we have is Pauline's going to share some updates regarding the possibilities of a local dog food pantry for disabled and senior residents in need of this assistance for their pets. Okay. So if Pauline has any information on that.
I do have some updates for you all.
Okay.
So in conjunction with Sandy's Four Paws and the First Congregational Church, there is a pet, predominantly dog, although they are accepting some donations of cat supplies as well, that have started rolling in. Things that we are looking at is dog food, things that are not expired, please. I've also been able to secure a couple of crates that we will be cleaning up. So if anyone's in need of that sort of thing, Sandy is working diligently on getting all of her paperwork and everything in securing a spot for all of this, the donations. So if anyone out there has dog supplies, not just food, but coats, jackets, leashes. I personally have about 7 collars that my dogs have all outgrown, from these very, very tiny things to all, up to the big ones. Anything that's in good condition, order. If it's broken and it cannot be fixed, then that's not something that could be utilized. But we are currently accepting some donations. So if anyone knows of organizations or people who have dog food that their dog no longer is able to eat, or their pet is no longer with them for whatever reason, any of those supplies. And if you're unsure, you can certainly email myself, or you can email Sandy at Sandy Four Paws, Care by the Beach. for any additional information. And certainly if you can't get a hold of me, certainly if you do call the Disabilities office, Ralph, please feel free to forward my email to anybody or get their name and number. Just shoot a text over to me and I will get back to anybody who has questions. So that's where we're currently at, and we're hoping that this will, certainly take off. There are a number of people who not only are experiencing their own food insecurities, but are looking at having to possibly give up their pets, their main source of companionship for many, because they cannot afford to keep them. And so we're really working hard to try to get this rolling and get it started so that at least we have a baseline to go by. So that's where we're at with all of that.
So Sandy's going to be facilitating this at her location?
We're trying to, right now she's accepting donations at her facility. However, we're hoping that it's going to get so big that we're going to have to actually look for a space. So
Okay.
I will certainly help her. But right now, if you have donations before you drop them off to her, please either reach out to myself or to Sandy, just to get the go ahead that she has room for it, or she can accept it, or if it's something that needs to be cleaned up or whatever, she can tell you, either I'll be doing it, her, or some of her staff as well. So we're hoping, we can really get this off the ground.
Okay. And the name again of her place of business?
Sandy's Four Paws Care by the Beach. It is in where the old North Shore Fuel used to be, right next to Beach Sales. She has that spot to the side of it.
Perfect.
And that's where we're at. So thank you, and wish us all luck, because I think this can really make a go of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that.
Right.
Anybody have anything else they want to add to that, or is there any questions on that from the commission? Okay, seeing none. We also had another update to see if Pauline and Robert were going to be able to get any information to share regarding therapy dogs.
Well, I did some background checking, and it looks to me, I went through the school handbook, and I don't see it anywhere spelled out that pets cannot be in a classroom of any kind. So with that said, I think that before any progression is made, we really need to sit down and figure out what role this potentially would have. Secondarily to that, a lot of the investigations that I did, the school systems that do have therapy dogs and dogs that do visit classrooms and are just making like spot checks in, have worked very, very well. Hopkinton had a huge positive response when they started their program. And so it looks like that with a lot of time and planning and a lot of cooperation between facilities, and whether it's a handler and a therapy dog in the school system or the city, whichever way we have to go, it looks like as long as there is open communication and cooperation, that this would work. Finding therapy dogs, that's the tough part. Sandy has, she's been an excellent resource for me. So she has some potential places that we can kind of look and call and inquire. But I think until we really hash out like a protocol and what we're hoping to gain out of this, I don't want to go and try to set up something and then have it totally backfire on the other end. So,
so we would have to
some work
reach out and see if there's any programs out there that facilitate doing anything like that for the first step. See if there's any program.
There's none in this area. I scoped it within a 150-mile radius, is what I looked at, and there was nothing that local. However, there are people who do have certified therapy dogs in the North Shore area, Swampscott, Marblehead. I think there's 1 or 2 in Saugus. There may even be 1 or 2 here in Revere. I was hoping my dog would step up to it, but she still has a lot of puppy energy left in her. She has to be able to bring it down like 54 notches or so. That is my hope eventually, is to get her into that, because she is extremely sensitive and intuitive with emotions, and if someone's having a real hard time, she is your essential lap dog, all 138 pounds of her. She outweighs most of the kids in the school.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering, because I'm wondering if there's any hospitals that offer a program, and maybe if there is, maybe offer if we could, figure out a pilot
have an
program.
option from them, hook us
Yeah.
into that. So
So
that's
we
the
can
other
find out,
thing that I'm
so we can
looking
get
at.
some hard facts and then go from there.
Right.
I've heard it in the news that I forget where they're at. There are a couple, I believe there are a couple of, I don't know if it's police departments or whatnot, that are starting to try and bring in some social and emotional dogs. And also the city of Revere is also.
Natick, I believe, and there's one down in that area. Franklin has one. I think it's a golden retriever.
Yeah.
That they have. So yeah, a lot of the police departments and the fire departments are utilizing them as social emotional support dogs. But again, they're under a different auspice, because when you get into a school system, you're not only going according to your auspice, you're also getting into the whole school zone thing.
Right.
So I think that we still have a lot of background work to do, but the things that I'm seeing personally for everything that I've looked into, they're all positive. I haven't come across anything that would outweigh potentially going forth with this.
We're coming.
How about you, Robert? Any thoughts, insights?
Yes. So I have actually been drafting up a couple of things to bring to you as well as Ralph, of reaching out towards a couple of people to, just like you said, with the school system is going to be a hurdle, but maybe an introduction, and being able to show the potential and the high levels of success with them. So one of them would be the actual, one of the trainers for the actual therapy dogs, having them bring, a personal dog in and explain exactly what it entails and the situations that they have to go through, and all of the benefits to it, as well as reaching out to, I think the VA could be a good place to reach out to, because of course, I'm sure there are plenty for PTSD. So that was one of the things that I've been putting together and, developing like a whole breakdown to bring to you and Ralph. Again, just I wanted your opinions, and I think then we can project it to the right people.
Perfect. And then like I said, then we could take it from there. We take a look at it from there. And we'll see what can come about it, and then we could talk to the departments that need to be brought into it after we find out some more information.
One thing I can reach out to, sorry to interrupt you, that I just realized, I actually have a couple of really close friends who are K9 for Homeland Security. And, I can talk with them about their dogs, and they're stationed right here at Logan. So, that could be definitely something that
may open up another channel. They may have friends or, acquaintances that are doing the social emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes, without a doubt. And just actually a little notation is all of the state police dogs that are at Logan are actually all trained by Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
So, it becomes hand in hand. And I'm sure, not for nothing, the K9 branch is a branch of TSA. So I'm sure any positive, media attention from the TSA will eat all up,
Great.
Okay. And does anyone else have anything else with that? If not, I will move up to item number 3, which is the Cpac March updates and April events that Robert sent over to me. Robert, are you able to read those, or do you want me to read them? Or
yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I can touch on them if you'd like, but I am driving.
Yeah, I'll read them. So what Robert sent over at this was I believe at their March meeting that they had, that we were going to wait for an update. They discussed the idea of using the right words and language and symbols during the April for Autism Awareness month, which I should have stated at the beginning of the meeting. Is March is Autism Awareness Month, which they had a great turnout on the first Friday of this month at City Hall. Robert, you were there, and there was some children there that parents belong to Cpac, and other students within the city of special needs and children with autism. So it was a great turnout. There was Representative Janino and Representative Cherko were there from our state delegation, along with Mayor Arrigo, and Councilor Cogliandro was also there, along with Councilor Keefe. I don't think I'm missing any other councilors. Robert, please remind me if I am, but I think that's who was there.
I think you got everybody. The mayor was there as well.
Yeah, so it was a great little turnout, and some of the people spoke on what autism means to them. A couple of the children did also speak on a video that they put together that they were going to share, I believe, in some of the classrooms. So it was a great time. Also, I believe at your March meeting, there was preliminary discussions and ideas of hosting some events throughout the city and getting parents involved. Also, hi, Asma. Asma had texted me. She's doing a few different things. She's going to be able to stay on for a few minutes. But thank you for joining, Asma.
She multitasking. I love it.
Yeah, she's multitasking. We're just discussing about the Cpac March updates. So you also spoke about the upcoming election for Cpac, if I'm not mistaken, and there's also discussions on how to have free swim and swimming lessons program with the new lifeguard working within the city. And lastly, you talked about how Cpac can move forward with progressing the city with the nature of autism. I think I covered all your notes. I don't know if you want to touch on any of those. You're more than welcome to. Since it's your notes, and you're going to be our Cpac liaison moving forward. So I appreciate that.
Not a problem. I think you nailed everything.
Okay.
You know, I'm looking forward to this month's meeting, so we can discuss what has been brought forward through the March one.
Okay. Do you have a date leading this month's meeting yet?
I don't, and I will make sure I reach out to them just to make sure that it's set.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I will.
and then you
I'll
can give us next month. You can just let us know when it was and what the highlight of what took place at that event. Perfect. All right. Anyone have any questions about that, or if not, we could.
Quick question, just a thought. I've been reading because March is Autism Awareness Month, and I guess they're talking about a trend towards changing it to autism acceptance versus autism awareness, meaning that they're looking at, bringing an awareness to any condition, whatever, is to make people cognizant and thoughtful of it. But the acceptance is to move from that piece to the actual inclusivity. So I don't know if anyone else has been reading any of that information, or if it's I've read it a couple of different places on a couple of different platforms. So I just wanted to bring that up, that does sound like something that's going to be transitioning as we move ahead. So any thoughts, anybody else reading that, or is
So that is one of the things that we brought up, that was talked about. And
right.
I think that, I think it's kind of I'm not sure if this would be the platform to use for the discussion of it, because nobody's, in my opinion, nobody's gonna be happy,
right?
In a situation like this. And because
Sure.
for me, my son being autistic, I think it's completely irrelevant. I think it's just, I don't think that there's a necessity for it. I can't remember seeing are reading about in the last 3 years when, and my son being diagnosed almost 3 years ago, that, a controversial issue with autism.
Right.
And
It
I
doesn't
think
say
that
it's controversial. They just said that they were thinking about changing the verbiage to
that's
make it.
they think that,
Yeah.
again, and for me, this was brought up at the Cpac meeting, and
Mhm.
I immediately brought up the fact that, and just like I said here about the platform that we're using right now, we're talking
Right.
about kids. I don't think that that's, to me, my opinion, I don't think that's relevant while we're talking about, autistic children, generated towards adults. Absolutely. Adults
Right.
that are getting to that age, 15, 16, 17, 18, getting into
That's-
that real world aspect.
Yeah.
I could understand that.
And
But,
maybe that's what they were targeting. It was just kind of a general, I get a lot of information, just sifting through my emails and on social media and just from different organizations. And I've happened to see it a couple of different times. I don't think they were specifically targeting kids versus teen versus adult. I think it was just one of those things that it was thrown out to the general, throw it in the air and see where it lands type of deal. So I was just
agree.
wondering if anyone seen any of it. But that's interesting coming from a parent standpoint. Absolutely.
Yes, and I was kind of, my whole perspective on it was, like Ralph mentioned in the notes, this was actually one thing that was discussed at the Cpac meeting last month. So that's why I was just, going on with what I was saying. But yes, no, I agree that, it is being talked about, and the same thing goes for the puzzle piece. The same thing goes for the colors, and it's just, like I say, in my personal opinion, nobody's going to win in this situation. Because
I hear you.
for instance, one of the stories that I read, they want to change the rainbow to red, and that's red is for AIDS awareness.
Also, the infinity symbol.
It's just,
right.
There will definitely be a lot of overlap everywhere.
Yeah,
if,
redundancy.
Kinds of terms, sure. But thank you. I wanted to get your take on it because like I said, coming from a parent standpoint, it would be very interesting to hear your take on it. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. I just want to ask, before I move any further, because I know Asma is not going to be here long, I just want to make sure there's nothing that she wanted to discuss before she has to leave.
Thank you, Raf. Yes. So, hi, everyone. I'm so sorry for being late. It's the month of Ramadan and I'm fasting. And one of my friends, she invited me at her house to break fast together. So thank you. About the sign language, I wanted to tell you that we're still working to bring it on our commission. So I will give you an update by next week. And also because of Ramadan, and I wanted to invite all of you to attend on April 29th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Senior Center. We will have an iftar dinner together. So welcome anyone and to join us there.
Good. That's why I'm glad you were able to make it, and I know you can't stay, so I wanted to take things out of order so that you'll be able to talk.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem, Asma. No problem. Like I said, you don't have to stay on as long as you just stay on as long as you can, and then you can just leave the meeting.
Thank
you.
I
just wanted to make sure. Again, thank you so much. Back to the regular order. I'm going to go to item number 4, which is CODA, the Commission on Disabilities Alliance monthly Zoom meeting on April 6th. There was most of the meeting was discussions regarding accessible voting and accessible mail-in voting. There seems to be there's a lot of discussion on the accessible voting machines and accessible mail-in voting. And the problem with the accessible voting machines is the voting machines have to come from the state. There are some cities and towns that, as it was stated at our meeting, their voting machines are being held together with bubble gum and tape. So not only are they not accessible machines, that they're not even highly usable. So there's a lot of discussion with that with state election commissions and Commission on Disabilities. Revere, our machines are not bad. The other thing that came up too with a couple of the cities and towns is that they say that they do offer assistance for people that are visually impaired, but that's not an accessible an accessible use or legally accessible use, because if you have somebody come and help you fill out your ballot, that's not a secret ballot. Somebody else is filling your ballot out for you, so they're knowing what you're voting. So that is an issue that's trying to, I brought that up, and a couple of other people brought that up. Yes, they do offer if you need assistance filling out a ballot, but in order to have assistance filling out a ballot, you have to tell somebody who you want to vote for. So that's not private. So there needs to be ways for that. The city of Boston is a pioneer, is I guess what came out in I think 2 years ago, a primary election, that it was thrown into them because they actually had a big lawsuit against them for their mail-in ballots. A mail-in ballot is also not accessible for a person who's visually impaired, because you really can't fill out a ballot if you're visually impaired. So there has to be a way, and I believe they may have gotten it, and some sites are looking into getting it on site, that is electronic, and there's a way for people that are visually impaired to be able to vote in secrecy. So there's talk around different Commission of Disabilities with talking to the state election commissioner. I'm drawing a blank right now, his name, but everybody knows who I'm talking. Galvin is in charge of state elections. So there's discussions on trying to make all voting accessible and equal to people with all types of disabilities.
This is very concerning, Ralph, that this is now even still an issue in 2022. This shouldn't even be.
Exactly.
This is unacceptable.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, do we have to constantly put out lawsuits? I mean, we all get sick of that after a while. I mean, it's bad enough that, I mean.
Right. Well, as a group for CODA, we are spearheading a campaign on going right to the state and trying to get this issue resolved.
I'm surprised at Galvin, because
there's equipment. There's equipment that can be purchased, but it has to come from the state. So we need to force the hand on it.
Well, definitely. Well, I agree with that. I mean, but it's sad that this is what we're talking about, in that, people, I mean, I've even gone to the Revere, and sometimes they don't even know how to set it up. I mean, there's a real concern. I've seen this repeatedly. When it first came out, Connecticut started with the phone voting, where you would go in, they would have a phone, and then it would print out the thing, and then you put it in the machine. Mm-hmm. But some of them didn't even know how. They had to call the secretary's office how to set this up. It's like, why didn't you have this ready? This is the voting day. What are you doing? I just don't understand why we're still.
How's the one in Revere working? Can you elaborate on
it? It's okay. They don't always know how to do it. Sometimes they don't even realize they have to turn it on. They don't. Is it TT? How is it? What system are they using? Because I'm going to try and find out some more information. Yeah, it's a little keypad. So when they turn the machine on, they put the ballot in, and it's a little keypad that you press, and it basically uses like 5 to select, and then arrow to do this, arrow to do that. So you have to really pay attention, or you might make a mistake. Okay. But it does review the ballot. I will say that.
Before it submits it, we'll review it for you.
Yeah, correct. It'll go through it, and then.
Does it only go through it one time?
I think it's only once. When you say that, Mario? Yeah, I think it's only once, and then once you accept it. Yep, and you can go through it once though before you select to, accept your ballot, and then it brings it back out, and then you put it in the box. Okay. But it's not bad. I mean, I'll say it's better than some cities I've seen. Some cities haven't even had any.
This is because for me, as a person who's visually fine, it's a battle that I can take on. but as a person who's visually impaired, as you and Mario, with our state, with our city election commissioner,
Yes.
I really would like you two to spear this.
Okay.
I can get an introduction with him and set up a possible meeting so we can discuss how we can make it better here in Revere.
Right, definitely, because we want more people voting. I mean, the problem is a lot of blind folks sit home and they don't feel they're part of anything. They don't. Nobody.
Well, the other thing is too is it's like they say they like Revere is offering that, but what were they? Are they offering you anything for mail-in? No, right?
No.
Right, and that's what they need to do. There has to be an electronic option or phone option for people, especially now. You saw the pandemic. People did not want to go, but you know, people who have disabilities are more prone to not be going to a location to vote in person. And the mail-in option is just paper, and that, you know, that's not accessible for people with certain disabilities. So,
and I agree with that. And to piggyback on that, so I had a discussion with the medical director at the facility where I go yesterday. He called me because I put in a complaint in. And we have a problem on the CDC side when you think about what you just said. So we're not even able to vote. Now, like when this same thing happened with the accessibility when it came to getting vaccines or other things, the websites were not accessible. Right, so we've really got some serious work to do. Just thinking along the lines, and your committee that you're talking about, go to there, might want to take this on too, because the CDC didn't even put us in the mix until later, which is very unfortunate. Because somebody like myself couldn't get what I needed. I had to fight tooth and nail, and it was only because the city of Revere recognized my situation and made sure I was taken care of. My own doctor didn't, because they said they couldn't even go around the rules. But the problem is, if a CDC, for example, who's supposed to be medical professionals, can't figure these things out,
right? How
are we going to do this even on the simple level of an election? Do you see my point? It's just right. And I'm just thinking that we need to change that on both levels. That people need access, and disabled people are being disenfranchised by many factors here, which is very concerning for me.
Okay. So I'll contact our elections commissioner here in Revere and try and start some dialogue, and then get yourself and Mario in conversation with him, so that we can try and see what we can do here in Revere while we wait for the state to catch up. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, definitely, because it impacts you. It does, it does impact me because of the residents that I look out for, but it impacts the two of you because you're in that realm. Right. You have to deal with it. All the ins and outs.
No, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I wish more people would recognize it's, even where I work, I think people just don't. And I talked to a lady today about possibly doing, and we did this in one employment place that I had. One of the employers I had, we had the people would take out names out of a hat to have that disability for the entire day to see what that was like for empathy. And I talked about even doing something like where I work, where people, because some people don't even know people like me. They have no idea what they're encountering. So I'm thinking for other disabilities and doing different type of disabilities to get people to recognize some of this. So I think it's the same thing on the election side. I think it all ties in.
Since you talk about that, I'm wondering if maybe we could try doing that something with employees in City Hall.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I would agree. That is the empathy, because the lack of understanding is amazing.
I'm not the best writer, but maybe we could do a proposal, and maybe we could send something to the mayor's chief of staff and see if we could have a day of having volunteers see what it's like to have a certain disability and go out and try and work that day doing their job.
Right, exactly, because it's we were taught it's because the awareness isn't there.
The other thing is too, some people have a disability that people can't see. but
exactly.
And I'm sure we could figure out that type of a disability for a person to have to deal with for a day and see how it is to go that way. This is gonna piggyback on one of our next items too. Anyway, so this is a catalyst for that. So this is a great conversation, and you know, I'm glad we're having it. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on this.
We did this in college, in one of my rehab classes. We each had to, and we all had to do it. We each, half of us did it one week, and then we had a discussion about it, and then the following week to see if any of our discussion would increase any of the awareness and get some more thought about what was actually going on. So we had to, out of the hat, and that was your disability for your day, and you had to function. And for those of us who were commuter students, you know, when I became visually impaired and I was a commuter student, it did pose some, you know, some significant issues for me, having to leave my car in Boston and commute home on the train, you know, and it was something that I did. I took it seriously, and it does open your eyes and your ears and your thought process to, you know, what you can't see. Just because you can't see something that might not be there doesn't mean that it's not there and that it's not an issue. It's not a problem. And you're right. But we did do college, and it was very, very empathy provoking, I think is the best way to put it.
Right. Well, I wish I could do this with a lot more with employers, because management particularly, it makes it difficult.
Yeah.
You know, my boss is very, you know, a little more understanding. He doesn't treat us like kids. He says, okay, let me know when you're doing X, and if you're off the phone, why it is, and all, you know, we're good to go. The manager's sitting there and all he's reading is a report. So of course he's like, well, why were you off the phone for 7.5 hours an entire month? And I'm like, well, technically that's all HR private related. So, you know, and it's just because he doesn't understand what's involved and what is involved for me. It took a while for them to even understand the computer complexity. So
is there any, as I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Does anyone know of any outlined program that we could follow if we want to propose this, to try and do this, and, you know, propose this to the administration?
I have not heard of anything, but I've seen places do that. I mean, her school did it. My employer had done it. It was because people need that understanding, and I think most people have no idea. I'm
wondering who I can reach out to.
I was thinking, you know, I can reach out to my alma mater, who I would not be opposed to doing it. Unfortunately, the professor I had has long since passed because I was in school with the dinosaurs. But I would be more than willing to see if there is anything going on there that they're utilizing in any of their rehab, because they do have a very strong psych rehab component. So I will be more than happy to make a couple of phone calls and see if we can start a draft. You know, I'm on board.
Okay, I appreciate it.
You could. I'm wondering, Ralph, since you have a good connection, I don't have the ability right now because they're watching every move I make, but and I'll propose, also mention it too. I've already started talking to people that work for our side, but see if you could reach out to MCB. I'm wondering if they might even have, because sometimes they keep tools around too to get people to see what it's like to see like those people, not just the occluders, but they have things like when I was born, and they wanted people to understand. There was an eye doctor actually created, and I can't find it anymore, but things like what I would see, kind of to give people in my family.
I know they have glasses to do it. I've seen that they have glasses to simulate different types of visual impairments.
Oh, good. Okay, so that would be.
I know they have those out. Those are in existence, because I know they've had. I've seen some documentaries about that. That they do have that. And I believe that they also have, I believe that there may also be some types of headphones that they have for people with different types of hearing impairments.
Right.
So there's probably some tools out there that could be found. And then, and like, those are the two that I can think of, but I'm sure there's probably all types of tools and different things that could be used for people with different types of walking disabilities. Easily for somebody who has mobility issues that's in a wheelchair, you would have to have somebody have to maneuver around with a wheelchair all day to see what somebody that's in the workforce has to deal with going, to and from different offices or different parts of a building in a wheelchair. There's all, it could be something that we could design, but I'm just wondering if there's something out there that we would be able to follow, so we wouldn't have to.
I'll look on, look out there as well, but I will make a phone call and make that inquiry. It'd be interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Especially that people, the reason why, another reason why I'm doing this, not only in the workforce, but for the understanding of residents that have disabilities that want to try and be involved in a public forum or public meetings or anything like that, that there are limitations, and this is how they would have to, how they have to deal with being at a meeting, trying to protrude to get to certain areas, to be able to listen to a meeting, get to a meeting, or whatnot. And this is gonna also, I'm going to discuss something else later on in the meeting that goes along with this too. So there's a lot that can be gained and learned by doing something like this, not only for a working environment, but for also residents with disabilities that want to become more involved and make them inclusive into the day-in-day life of the city, and be able to be more involved so nobody is excluded.
That's a good idea.
Robert, do you have anything to add? I know there's a lot there.
Yeah, so actually, I think the only question I had was back to the ballots. And I guess it's I don't know if it'd be a stupid question, but are there not ballots that have Braille on them?
I don't think they've created that. That would be
They haven't created it because I don't think they have a machine that can read them.
Right. I agree.
There could be. The technology could be out there, but they haven't purchased it. So that's why you need to put pressure on the state election commission, and it's not just the state; it's the federal government, to see what's out there and what type of technology is out there.
I think the audio visual stuff, I think, is a better facet, only because the Braille is very expensive. It is, when you create a Braille book, I don't know if you guys have seen one.
Isn't expensive? Isn't it like $35 to $40 for a page?
Yeah, it's really expensive because what they do is the books are really thick. Yeah, they're really thick and they're heavy. And the majority of people that are blind actually don't use Braille that often. It's really kind of more of a, some people raise it for letters. They might use they don't do the books in college because they'll tell you it's not worth it. They'll tell you to get audio books. They'll tell you to, I used to have a Kurzweil machine years ago. So when I had that was back when there was, and of course, that dating myself here, unfortunately. I'm like, because it was about $3,500 to $5,000 back then for one of those ones that were like little copies, and I had that. So it would do about 70 pages of reading, because there's no way I could do a chapter, and then luckily they got into small scanners and software on the computer, so you didn't need to do that. So it comes through, but Braille has never gotten as far. It's a great tool. I had a hard time actually reading it, believe it or not, because you have to have the proper fingers for it. Yeah. So I wouldn't want them to spend, I'd rather them get the audio or other things that are less invasive, because that takes a lot of work and you have to have enough people to justify the cost involved in doing that. And I would be concerned that what if there's mistakes, because you got to be careful how you write this. You got to know the coding, because Braille is all made up of different numbers, so which create the letters. Then there's contraction functions and things like that. So you have to know all of that. I know how to write some of it and I still remember some of it, but reading it is the trick. And that usually isn't as easy as people think. I've tried. I don't have the fingers for it. It's difficult. Believe it or not.
Maybe could two possible outlets to reach out to be, of course, the ADA well, 3 now, but the ADA, just for a general consensus of what else is used in other places. 2 would be what the state itself, with the, like we're talking about systems to be able to read these things, because I bet with how what will be the word, how intricate the machines are to read all the tests for the MCAS that's throughout the state, could be, you know, to find out a little bit more about that. And the other thing, back to the audio and that thing, what about to see if there's options through MGH and specifically the Mass Eye and Ear branch?
What about MOD, Ralph? I wonder if they could weigh in as well.
Well, what it is, what CODA wants to do is they want to propose doing a letter to Mr. Galvin, the election commissioner, because what it is in order to have, there's only certain machines that have to be sanctioned by the federal government for elections. And then there's a cost involved in them. And what it is once you notify them, then once you send the letter to them, he can let you know not only what's available, Massachusetts, what is being used throughout the country in the United States. So you get that from there, and then, you know, because the machine has to be sanctioned. So it doesn't matter if there's readers out there, because it has to be something that's voter certified, an elections commission certified. So there's probably equipment that's out there that's already been approved, and it's just not being used. So there's manufacturers that are already approved for it, and it's just a matter of getting pressure to get those systems being put in place. If that makes sense to you.
Yes.
So if you go to Mass Eye and Ear, and if you go to ADA and MOD, they'll tell you that there's machines that can do the reading. They'll tell you that there's machines that can do the writing, but those machines are not incorporated into election machines. It's two different types of machinery. Is the thing. So it has to be, it's certain different types of calibration, certain types of manufacturing of a machine. So it has to already be incorporated into an election type of machine, which we had preliminary talks that there are probably some out there already. It's just a matter of getting the cities, towns, and states to be able to get them, because they come from what it is. Most of the equipment is allocated through the state election commission to each city and town election commissions. So it's not like the cities and towns have to purchase them, but that's where it has to come down from. The state has to be able to procure the equipment.
Now, I'm sure, I apologize for interrupting you. I'm just speaking, I guess, on the obvious factor, but wouldn't listening to the both of you guys going back and forth with how long this has been an issue, how is this not gained the attention of the masses? Because the short and sweet end of this is you are getting treated different because of your disability.
Well,
how is that?
Ignorance.
It is. You got to think that the ADA
but monetary
30 years.
Right.
So now it's at the forefront. So now you have the American Disability Act that's come, it's with 30, I lost track with CODA. I mean, with COVID, because the first year of COVID, I believe, was the 30th anniversary. The first year of COVID.
It was 19. Yeah, it was 19. No, it was pre-COVID, because I thought it was 1990. It started, but they added to it. So they kept making changes.
No, yeah, but I'm saying right before COVID, though, was the 30th year anniversary, right? So we're at, what are we at, 32, 33 years of?
Something like.
Yeah. So it's been building since then, and it's a cumulative that people are now at the forefront, even though it's been going on for so long. And what it is, you know, voters' rights. Not everybody had the right to vote years ago. Now everybody has the right to vote, and it's gained a lot more steam. Now, not only that everyone gained the right to vote, now we have to make sure that everybody with a disability has the same rights and really push it along. And we have to use the ADA to help push it along.
Right. Well, you have simple as, I mean, and I mean, I hate to say this, but you have even Asian restaurants sometimes when you go to eat and say somebody has a service animal. Okay. They have pushed back on people, and the police actually end up getting called, and police are like, no, this is a federal law. You have to honor it. You can't turn them away. Right. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but the reality is that the majority of folks have not met blind folks, Robert, to be honest. There are quite a few of us, but I mean, Helen Keller,
they don't have what's called Title III training.
I agree. I mean, part of the problem is you have people who think that we're all Helen, you know, like Helen Keller, Ray Charles, and Stevie Wonder. And that's really what they believe. But the reality is that's not the case. Right. So it's an unfortunate unfairness, just like when they stick all folks with autism in certain baskets. You know, my stepbrother happens to be, you know, has Asperger's, so I get it, but not everybody gets that there's different facets of that. And so it's unfortunate. People they question. I mean, I've had somebody, I mean, and granted he was drunk, but, you know, ask me, oh, you must be faking you're blind. I said, excuse me? I said, you'd like to ask the eye doctor, you're welcome to, but no. I said, I wish I were.
They shouldn't even put you in that situation.
No, agreed. That was near the train station. That's because they don't do their job. It's example as simple as that. We don't even have all our T stations accessible. You still have stations that are not fitting the requirements. So if you can't even do that, and you saw how long it took to do the Green Line extension and our big dig, which hasn't done anything for the rest of us here that are disabled, mind you. It cost me. Yeah, no, but money, but that's just money taken now that is not put in, that hasn't helped us. I mean, the Silver Line was about the only thing come out of that, but that's not really that helpful. So so it's just, I mean, and I agree with you, Ralph, it's voting, but if people feel like they can't even get a job sometimes and they're just sitting home, so they feel like they're, you know what I mean? That's where some of that comes from too. So it's just to help Robert understand too, that, you know, because he's wondering, it's just, I mean, I had a guy actually say to one of my buddies, well, doesn't the government take care of it? And he goes, yeah, you know what I get? $311 a month. This is back in Georgia, of course, so it's a little cheaper, but $311 a month. And out of that, I got to pay my rent, buy food, and clothes. That's about all I get. So the guy didn't understand that there's, you know, they have no idea. And then when you try to work, there's challenges, and Social Security doesn't make that easy. So, you know, you get pushed that way. So and I appreciate that you get it, Ralph, because I know you see a lot more things being on the side where you are. But yeah, it's sad, Ralph, and it's just the truth. I mean,
I'm sure what I'll do though is I'll like I said, I'll keep, like, Coda is working on it on that end, and I'll work on it for the Revere end with you guys. Okay. And you know, keep everybody updated on that. But in the fairness of time, what I want to do is I just want to move on, because I know the next one might be a little lengthy, also the next item on the agenda.
Got it.
So I'm going to move on to item number 5, and it goes almost heads and tails with what we were just speaking. Item number 5 is discussion regarding progression of medical conditions and disabilities causing people to need to leave. Yeah, I was missing in the thing. Need to leave the workforce, along with where to turn for help. And I'm going to have Pauline talk on this one.
And I will make it short, because we can also table this and we can, you know, revisit this, because a lot of what was just said really applies to what I was thinking about. You know, just coming from an area where just because you can't see something doesn't mean that the disability or the issue does not exist. And it's becoming more and more relevant each and every day, where there are more and more, first of all, there are more and more illnesses. As we are an aging community, and as we have more science available, we also have the ability to diagnose certain disorders that are not outwardly seen, but yes, do cause issues, do cause problems, do cause barriers to a lot of different things. You're talking about not just what's on the Social Security listing, but things that don't even make that list, that don't quantify, or that don't really fall into a zone per se.
And
really,
if you don't mind, just to
Yep.
touch on that for 1 second,
please do.
I'm 34. I got diagnosed 18 months ago with bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
So you are spot on with that. And I have to take medication for the rest of my life to subside it. So and you would never know.
Right. And just
You would
looking and
never
talking
know.
with
And
you, no idea. And that's the issue with a lot of things that are coming forth now. And it's with mental health issues, it's with skin disorders, it's with gastrointestinal things, it's with autoimmune. And with, like I said, with each and every day, we are getting more and more diagnoses that are causing issues. And it's not saying that those people are, that they, whether they qualify or they don't qualify. Disability is really neither here nor there at the point. But the point is that there are people that are fielding issues every day in everyday life that no one else is aware of. I myself cannot walk into a restaurant unless I call ahead. I have a disorder where I cannot eat wheat. It is not an allergy. I have an autoimmune disorder. But if I don't call ahead, if I don't identify myself, I'm out of luck. You know, my family can go out to dinner, but I may not be able to, or I may not be able to safely. And a lot of what happens with the condition that I have is it's not the immediacy of it. It's what's going to happen 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. And those are the types of things that, you know, as we meet individuals in our day-to-day life, and I'll stop it here, you don't know what anyone else is going through. And so I think that we all kind of need to shift gear and always have that awareness, not to say that you're looking at a person going, I wonder what's wrong with them. I wonder what their ability is. I wonder what their disability is. But just be cognizant and be aware that there are different people fielding different issues that you may or may not be able to identify. And just be aware of that. And just to always kind of keep that in your mind somewhere, that just because you can't see it, just because I'm not walking with crutches currently, that might not be something that I may be facing, you know. And it's not just me, and it's not just you, and it's not just any one of us. It's the whole entirety. And I think that there really has to be more discussion and more talk about what happens when I walk in, you know, say I don't decide to call ahead to a restaurant. Say I walk into just XYZ restaurant and I would like to be seated. I'm seated, I'm given a menu, and I ask, do you have this restriction available for me? And they say no. Where does that lead me? I have to always, I'm a planner aheader anyway. That's me by nature. But there are many people who don't plan ahead. And so by not doing that, you get stuck, you hit a roadblock, and it's for any ability or disability. So I think we should stop there, Ralph, because we're really running out of time, but I think it's something that should be tabled, and maybe we can revisit.
We'll add this back onto the agenda for next month.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'll explain next month's meeting too, when we get to the next one. Item number 6 is just wanted to let you know that the Commission of Disabilities is looking to fill a vacancy. So I just wanted to put that out there. If anyone's interested, please go to the city's website under boards and commissions, and you can fill out the application through the Human Resources Department for that. Item number 7 was communications. We did not get any communications. Item number 8 is commission members late items. I just have one that I just wanted to update real quickly. On April, it pertains to inclusiveness and people with disabilities, people with different languages. I've been an advocate and a spearhead for remote and hybrid meetings, as we all know, because our meetings are still remote, which I'm glad for. That the MMA, which is the Massachusetts Municipal Association, has also been spearheading this campaign. Also, they sent a letter urging legislation leaders to enact permanent options for remote meetings, town meetings, and caucuses. They sent that on April 4th to Speaker Marino and President Spilica. So they are on board to try and get the state legislature to change the open meeting laws and to also make it that cities and towns can still do it. And I want to take it a step further, that I don't think they can, I think they should do. So I want to see not only cities and towns do it, I want Revere to be the catalyst in doing this. All our meetings, they don't have to be fully remote, but they should have a hybrid option, so that, with today's day and age, we have the technology and it can be done for people with disabilities, people that speak a different language, people that don't like to be in a meeting room and like to be in the comforts of their home or out of town and want to be part of the meeting. This will make everyone inclusive. So also Dr. Barrows, who is new to the city of Revere, who is the director. I want to get her title actually correct. So I will, let me get her exact title, because I don't want to make a mistake on her title name. She's the director of, she is the director of the Cultural Society. I just, if I found an email from her, I would get you her exact title, because I do not want to misspeak on her title. She's also, I've been talking to her on it. She's the Chief Officer of Talent and Culture for the city of Revere. So I've had discussions with her in the past. She's on board with this and feels the same way as I do. So I'm glad that the Massachusetts Municipal Association has sent these letters in favor of it. So I'm hoping to gain some legway, but without that, I want to see Revere be the spearhead in doing that, because I really think that all the meetings, council meetings, commission meetings, school committee meetings, everything should be, if not remote, but I'll have a hybrid option to it. So I'll leave it at that. Because I know I'm hoping that all my commission members are in favor of that, but because of time constraints, I'll leave it at that. I didn't know if any other members had any late items that they wanted to speak on. If not, if you do have anything, just please let me know. We can add it to next month's agenda. And what I wanted to say for next month's agenda, I'm gonna leave it very short for next month for a couple of reasons. We're going to be having someone come to our meeting next month that I thought we were going to try and work on getting some publicity out there somehow. It's going to be Sarah Nietzschman from the DPPC, which is the Disabled Persons Protection Commission. I'm going to send her out an email to remind her. She's going to be coming to our meeting, and she's roughly, I would say, 15 to 20, 25 minutes of the meeting. So I'm going to just have that on the agenda, and then what we just tabled tonight will be on it, along with the Cpac update, if that sounds okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. And lastly, item number 10, if Pauline, if you'd like to read that.
Certainly. So our reminder is the Commission on Disabilities is trying to limit in-person appointments while we set up a new permanent location. Residents can speak to staff from our 311 Constituent Service Center Monday through Friday when you call our office at 781-286-8267. They will be able to answer most questions, but if they are unable to, or if you would like a call back from our department, please ask to be transferred to the Disability Office's voicemail, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. As always, please do let us know if you would like something discussed or brought up and added to our monthly meeting agenda. You can let us know if you would like to speak on any issue or concern. The Commission is here to help and assist all the disabled residents and families of Revere.
Thank you. I mentioned what our next steps were going to be for next month. Asma also mentioned if she has any more updates for the ASL that will be on it. I spoke about our guest speaker that will be attending our meeting via Zoom, and also what we tabled from this meeting to discuss further next month. Does that sound like I covered everything?
It does.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, if I could just have one quick second of personal privilege. I'm hoping that they're watching. I just want to make a special announcement to two special people in my life. My mom and dad, Raphael, known as Ralph, and Marie DeChico. Today is their 52nd wedding anniversary. So I just want to wish them a happy 52nd wedding anniversary and many, many more. My mom's just dealing with some little setback right now. She had fallen and got hurt, but hopefully she'll be on the mend. So happy anniversary and many, many more.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, that's happy anniversary to them. And definitely, Ralph, I think we should also put out just because there's been a lot going on. I mean, I just found out there was a shooting in New York recently today over in
I just saw that too.
Yeah, and but the guy who passed away got dragged by the train the other day. So I'm thinking just to put prayers out to everybody for that, just to everybody to put out their good thoughts. So maybe and turn some of the tides just to put along with that, thinking that put that out there. Yeah.
Thank you, Mario. So if I can have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
by Dixon, second by Mario. Our next meeting via Zoom will be Tuesday, May 10th at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, and have a good night. And those of you that are celebrating Ramadan, and those of you that will be celebrating Easter and Passover, have a great holidays.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.